Digimole. Digimole is actually a really fun boss to melee. His main attacks are this charge drill attack, pops up in the middle and does shockwaves that you can just small hop over, and barrage. This attack you can just strafe left to right to avoid. Every time you stop shooting you just want to make sure you turn the other way. His main gimmick is burying under the ground, during which you can't damage him, and then occasionally rather than coming up to attack he'll lay these mines down instead. As like most mines you can shoot them to get rid of them if he gets too many of them out. The best times to actually DPS him are when he's doing the barrage attack, because he tends to stay out the longest of all the moves. And his crit spots are the red dots on his eyes, and he has one on top of him as well when he does this attack here, just there. Now if you want to melee him, it's quite easy to melee him when he's charging. It's very easy to melee when he pops up in the middle, which I'll show you in a second. If he ever stops doing this stack. This stack can go 3 times, so just make sure you're always positioning assuming that it's going to do 3 times. If the charge attack that he does hits you, it instantly stops. You can also get it to hit clones and instantly stop that way. Come on, pop up in the middle. Right, so when he does this, you can actually jump on those little bits that stick out and just melee him while he does it, like this. And then my favourite trick, see if we can get it off. Okay, we can't get it off with the mines there. We'll wait for him to pop up in another spot. You can melee him when he does the barrage. It's a little bit positional friendly, and there we go. I took 2 hits there, but you can do that flawlessly without taking damage. It just involves standing in just the right spot and meleeing him down. We weren't in the right spot for that, so can't do that. You can actually kill him in Act 1 the quickest of any bosses if you get that positioning perfect. That's Billy Boom. Not Billy Boom, sorry, that's Digimole. Enjoy. Billy Boom. Nice, easy boss here. His main attacks are the laser guns that you see up there, that they shoot at you and then cross over. Plasma balls that he shoots at you that you can literally sidestep very easily. He then has an attack where he'll run up and try and punch you, or slap you, sorry. And then these overhead cannons which he shoots either side of you and sends out shockwave. The best way to avoid this one is just to do little jumps over it, or to jetpack if you've got it up. To slap, it's the same way that you deal with a lot of the Titan punches and stuff. You tend to just want to try and strafe to the right, preferably not the left, because the attack comes out from his right hand. So when he slaps at you, you're moving away from it and you kind of bait it out. As far as damaging him goes, it's kind of simple. You just shoot the red dot in the middle if you've got a weapon that can crit, and just stand out the way. When he's doing his laser attack you can stand close. I tend to just like to jump over one side and go off to the edge and then just DPS him down. Other notable thing about this fight is the goo around the outside, and you'll see a bar underneath his health pool. If I stay too close for him for too long you'll see that slowly builds up. If that gets to full, he will destroy you and the whole universe with you, so it's best to try and avoid that. The only other stuff that he does is when he gets low health, he triggers something where you can actually turn that mechanic off, which I'll show you in a second. When it comes to meleeing Billy, you can either risk it and get close while he's doing bits and bobs and slowly build up, or when he does this attack you can attack his elbows and the charge will not go up while you're attacking his elbows because you're actually far enough away from his main body. Other than that, bouncing on his head tends to be a fairly safe way of dealing damage to him because he only has 1 or 2 attacks that can actually hit you up there, but just be careful of the bar. Now you see in a second when we drop him to a quarter health, he'll go down and there's a switch on his back that you need to go pull. This turns off the explosion mechanic. While he's down and in the rage state at the end, it no longer builds up from you being close to him, but it builds up from you doing damage, so you do want to make sure that you switch that off sooner rather than later. And that is Billy Boom. Dr. Turret. Dr. Turret is a very simple boss. He just has a flame attack that was aimed directly at you that will limit your movement on the floor. lock on rockets, which again you just avoid like any rockets in the game, just move out the way and let them hit the wall, and a spinning laser attack. To do dodge the spinning laser attack, you can generally just double jump when the laser is pointed away from you, in a direct, like 180 degrees away from you, and then it'll pass you by the time you land. These are the only actual directed attacks with the laser fingers there as well. Those you can literally just short hop to the left or to the right and just wait for him to close his fingers. There are two attacks, however, that you may never have seen, because you have to be in very specific locations in order for it to trigger. There is one on top of his head here. You see those little zappers there, and it triggers lightning on his head. If you're trying to head bonk him while that's happening, you will get stunned. Second thing is to try and stop you just free meleeing him, which when this attack ends, I'll show you, there'll be a saw blade basically that appears at his base. So here, if you stand too close to him for too long, he spins out and does any damage. You can hover over that, so it is still possible to melee him without taking damage, like so. But the damage it deals is relatively low, and most melee weapons can out heal it just based on the healing cells that drop. That's basically the fight. There's not really much else to it. You just avoid those and hit him. He has one crit spot, which is the little X in front of him. It'd be kind of awkward to get consistent crits on him if he does the spinning attack lots, because obviously he's not looking at you the whole time. But yeah, that is Dr. Turret. Thank you very much, and I'll kill it for the video, but yeah, moving on to the next boss. So, El Mosquito. El Mosquito likes to go around the ring and place down these little bombs that turn into clones of himself, and these which damage you if you walk into them. Now you can kill them by shooting them. El Mosquito isn't really that much of a challenge unless you let a lot of clones build up, because then you've got more shots to deal with. But the thing is, all the attacks that he deals, you can basically just walk sideways and avoid without ever having to do anything. Now, if you get too close like that, obviously, yeah, it can hit you. His main attacks, as I say, are mine laying around the edge. He never really puts them right up to the edge, so you can literally hug the wall and walk around in circles. He shoots a ground pound, which you know he's going to do because he kind of raises his little snout up. And then he also shoots large balls at you, which again you can just avoid by walking sideways. You don't have to do anything fancy. His main gimmick is this little pool in the middle. You'll see a little bar underneath his health. Once that gets full and is red like it is at the moment, he enters a rage mode where he basically just does all of his attacks but more. He just aggro mode. He's kind of difficult to hit with some weapons, and his crit spots are easiest to hit when he's sucking at the pool. He will full suck all the way up to the top of his rage if you don't DPS him when he's there, but if you do DPS him you can like knock him out of the pool. When it comes to meleeing him, the best times to do it tend to be when he's shooting, because you can just about avoid it when you're up close. It can be risky trying to melee him around the arena as he goes, because he can drop a bomb in your face, but he's not too much of a challenge. Obviously I've taken some damage because I'm talking more than concentrating on the fight, but as I've shown, you can have multiple of him up and just strafe around the wall, and you'll be almost absolutely safe throughout the whole thing. But no, that's El Mosquito. On to the next one. Right, Gang of Elites. Now these ones are kind of hard to do a proper full breakdown. The ones that spawn are always kind of random. The first three might always be the same, but I don't run this way often enough to know. But then the ones that spawn after it, I don't believe spawn in any specific pattern. So in order to fight these, you have to know about what all the elites are. And I'll go over that in a separate segment on this video. But my general thinking when you come in here is kind of prioritising threats. So at the moment we've got a shield, we've got one that's trying to melee me and pull me in, and we've got one that is trying to just shoot me with a barrage of shots and will occasionally try and chain me if I'm not wrong. So my general thought process here would be to get rid of the one that chains you, because that's the biggest threat. If that chains me, I could probably just die. So it depends a little bit on your character, but generally with elites you want to use something that stuns them, opens them up, and then just kill them as quickly as possible. So with a recon, for instance, I'll flash in, start meleeing it, and then get grabbed like I said I didn't want to do. Then target priority is anything that can lock onto you and deal you almost guaranteed damage, like sniper elites, or anything that minimises your movement options. So like these big chain shots here that cover a huge amount of area, it's quite likely that I'm going to run into that just moving around normally. So you want to get rid of those. These guys, they're a threat if they hit you, but they're not going to hit you very hard. Then we've got melee bot, which isn't going to hit me ever if I'm moving. And we've got a shield bot that's shooting lock on rockets. I don't worry about any of the shield bot's attacks other than the rockets. So my best option here is to hook into the shield bot to open him up, because that guarantees stun him, and you can stun him through the shield and then just kill him. Mismoved there, so a barrage could have killed me there. I've now got 2 melee bots, so my main threat is this guy here, because he can basically one-bot me if I get too close to him during a barrage. Again, just using our options to quick stuns. Okay, we've got a sniper bot, he is a big threat, have to kill him quickly. I don't have a good boss killing weapon, so killing quickly is not happening. So now we want to get rid of this one because he's limiting our movement the most. Melee bot isn't a big threat because again it can't hit me if I'm moving. And now we've only got the melee bot left and we'll just kill him down. And that is Gang of Elites. Again, it's kind of RNG, but that's my thought process on how you deal with them. Deal with the ones that are going to be difficult to kill, like shield bots while you're moving, so quickly stun those down. Kill ones that are going to limit your movement, and leave any that aren't a threat as long as you're moving to kill last. Cheers. The Judge Ball. A lot of people complain about this boss and find it very difficult, but normally it's because they're just moving too much. As you can see with this barrage attack, if you just slowly move around in a small circle in front of it, you can get out of it very, very easily. During this laser attack is the perfect time to melee him. If you just get on his head, he basically can't damage you at all. When his shield's out, just try and quickly kill his shield generators. There's not really anything special about that. This mine attack, you can kill these mines, and it will give you a little bit of extra space to move around. Alternatively, he doesn't place them at the wall very often, so you can normally get some breathing space from them by just standing at the wall. Again, barrage. Now it is possible to melee him during the barrage if you just stand just in front of his face here and move with it like that. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it is possible. So he has 2 states that you can melee him. This is the other state. This is the best state for it, where you just get on his head and just hold down the melee attack. So if you are trying to do a melee only run or anything like that, that's the best attack to look out for. Or learn how to melee him during the barrage. And yeah, he's actually quite an easy boss to kill once you get that down. Now obviously there's a bunch of mines here, so I just have to do smaller movements. If I get caught too far back, you can actually jump over them as they're coming in. The charge attack is one of the more janky attacks that he has that will just occasionally accidentally hit you on the way back. I moved too much there, so I put myself in danger because I screwed up a bunch of things. But yeah, so that charge attack he does, because of the way it bounces, if he bounces off the wall, he can hit you on the way back, which is how you tend to take the most damage from that charge. But otherwise, yeah, you can just sidestep out of it or slide jump out of it. Bunny hops are just the way forward for most situations. On to the next boss. Okay, Dakota's a pretty easy fight. He only has very limited attacks. He has one where he plants a turret on the wall, which you just saw there. He lays mines on the floor, does a charge attack where he's glowing, and he shoots rockets at you. All of the attacks, bar obviously his charge attack, can actually be destroyed manually. The gimmick of this stage is that the floor is disappearing slowly, but it will never raise up to the point of the rails, so you can always just ride on those. Because you can destroy most of this guy's attacks, he isn't really much of a threat unless you're in front of him when he charges you. Now to melee him, he's probably the easiest boss to melee in the game. You literally just get on top of him, bounce on him and melee attack him, so you're getting both head bonk damage and melee damage off. Recon, as you can see, is just very easy to stay on top of him. It can be a little bit harder with some of the others, but if you've got movement gadgets and grappling hook, you just grapple on top of him, and that is Chaos Coaster. Easy fight. Nuka. Nuka's quite an awesome fight. He can be fairly difficult if you don't know too many of his gimmicks, but once you get those down, just like most bosses, he's not too much of an issue. He's basically a super hyped up version of the Titans that you find in Haven. I think they're Goliath Titans. So he shares a punch with those, which you can dodge in a similar way, same as Billy Boone, of just kind of diagonally dodging away from him or sliding away from him. Again, with most bosses and most enemies, you can realistically dodge most of what this guy does just by going around the outside. But obviously we want to be able to be aggressive while fighting. So let's go over his attacks. He has this one here, which just shoots rockets and lasers at you. You can jump them, you can slide away from them, or you can just walk out the way. That also does work with shooting, but you do want to watch out when using heavy weapons because it slows you down just enough that they do catch you. He has typical ground pound that a lot of bosses have. Just nice easy jump over that. Again, if you're slide hopping a lot, you tend to accidentally go over those ground pounds. He has a stun shot which he shoots 3 shots at you. That one's actually catches me more often than it should. He can shoot it more than once in a row, so I want to watch out for that. Same with his punches, he can do that multiple times in a row if it punches you. I don't like going too high when fighting this guy, because if he punches you when you're in the air, he can kind of chain punch you and get 3 punches off in a row, which really hurts. Then finally he has the overhead bombardment that he does. Now I actually really like that fight because this is the best one if you want to melee him, because you can literally stand underneath it and he can't hit you. And then just make sure you don't walk backwards into them after his finish. And that's the Duke Nuka fight basically. There's not anything else to go over. Once you've done enough damage to his front plate, it does come off, and then you can crit him. You can't really manually crit him until you take out that front. It's normally just before half health, as long as you've been hitting that spot that it breaks. And then, just like the Goliath Titans, it opens up and you can start critting him. When DPSing him, you're going to just want to hug the wall. Again, with most bosses this works, to be honest. Hug the wall. Keep going around as quickly as you can, slide hopping to stay out of range of it. You can walk around a lot of his attacks, but it gives you a lot less space to do it, so until you're used to it I wouldn't advise it too much. You can also go high, but his attacks are wide enough that sometimes you don't quite get enough speed doing it, so I wouldn't recommend it. That's Duke Nuka. Let's move on. Uncle Jim. Uncle Jim, his main gimmick is that he's stuck to the wall and will slowly rotate up the arena as he goes. His attacks are this laser beam one. He has rockets that he shoots at you. You can destroy the rockets in midair or you can avoid them. They have quite a large AoE, so watch out for them exploding on walls. He has sticky mines, which again, like most mines, you can destroy. And then his last one is a machine gun, if you'd be so kind to do. There we go. Now he has a huge crit spot, which is just his face there. If you shoot that, that is criticals. Now the downside is that he has another gimmick where he closes a shield across his face, so you can't crit him anymore. To avoid the machine gun, you can literally rotate yourself around it. It's got a very slow rotation. These rockets, again, like any homing rockets, you just kind of avoid them by just moving out their path and letting them lock on behind you. Mines, you avoid mines the same way you do anything else, of just not walking into them. His laser is actually one of the easier attacks, and his preference if you're trying to melee him.
because it's super slow and you can dead angle it. He can't hit you if you're bottom. Now to melee him, you want to jump on his right side and melee him like this. He does have a protective shield that will pop up when you're standing on him to try and stop you doing that. And if you take too long like we have here, you end up with not much space to fight him, as you can see here. It's very rare that you get into this position though, because honestly Uncle Jim he's the one that you just base to see if your build is doing well or not. He's just a punching bag. Very easy fight. You can see I was able to avoid all his stuff even without any space to move around. Uncle Jim.
Beat a Royale. Beat a Royale is probably one of the harder bosses to try and melee, so you want to watch out for that. Her main attacks are these mines, which will spawn enemies, which you can destroy just by jumping on or shooting. Flies around the room in an L shape and dropping mines. Again, these mines you can destroy. Laser barrage, which you can quite easily just kind of walk around. An attack that destroys the floor slowly. If you get all the way to the bottom, there is like lava at the bottom that will damage you, so watch out, you can actually run out of time. And then a spinning attack. Spinning attack will gradually move towards you. If you're an engineer or anything like that, you can actually bounce the spinning attack off the drones and she'll never get close to you. Now the main trick is obviously, with everything, just kind of avoid her. All of her attacks are so telegraphed, it's pretty easy to avoid. Her main issue is trying to melee it. There isn't a huge amount of time where you can melee. You can melee it fairly safely when she shoots out her summons, and you can melee it very safely when she's destroying platforms. She tends to destroy 2 platforms, so it gives you a lot of time. I wouldn't recommend ever trying to laser during the barrage. Trying to melee during the barrage attack, but you can if you want. You just have to learn the timings. It is possible to avoid it. If you're recon, there is also a little thing that you can do during the spinning attack where you can actually teleport inside her. It's very difficult to do intentionally, but it is something you can probably learn. And if you do that, the hitbox is actually only on the outside of the spin, so you avoid all damage by doing it. But if you get it wrong, you eat a spin to the face and take some damage. But it's like that. You just teleport at her feet and get inside her. But then you need to be aware of the next follow-up attack. If you get caught in an attack train that you don't like, then you can just drop down to the next floor and cancel it if you've got enough floors left. But as I say, you don't want to get to the bottom because there's lava. So I've beat Royale. Enjoy. Iris, Phase 1. Iris is a fairly simple fight. There is quite a lot going on most of the time, so it feels quite difficult, but once you get the moves down, it's not too bad trying to avoid them all. Her main attacks are this mine lay attack, where she shoots all the mines out of her head that you saw just there. You can shoot those, but they don't hang around for very long. You have these pylons that appear, which charge that bar up that's underneath her health. You can destroy these to make the bar stop going up. It will only go up if they're destroyed. But that takes time away from killing, so I don't tend to do that. Just try and speedrun it and don't really care about the bar. These laser attacks that she does, she can do it on one side or the other or on both sides. They're not too difficult to dodge. It's very, very easy to see them coming, and you can even fit in between them, unlike that. Then she has lock-on rockets, which you just kind of dodge them the same way you dodge any rockets in the game. You just kind of move past them and they hit the wall or explode. Once enraged, she has a constant barrage of laser beams that go along the floor like this. And then there's little cut-out bits that you need to try and avoid. I tend to try and stay high if you can, and use pogo sticks, so you're on the floor for a small amount of time and then just jump over it. Now, all of these, as I said, kind of look difficult to avoid, but there's actually there's 3 major strats you can do. You can learn to dodge them like I'm doing here, not very efficiently because I'm talking. Oh wait, I forgot, she also does a shockwave attack along the floor like this. It'll either be in the middle or on the sides. You can see where they're coming from because it all lights up, and then you can just move out of the way. It can also hit you in the air. They go a lot higher than it looks, but that's that.
But the two kind of gimmicky things that you can do to Iris Stage 1 is you can actually dead angle a lot of these attacks. I'll just wait for this to just go away. Oh, and the hack as well, I forgot to talk about the hack. She does a hack where her front of her face will flash purple. All you have to do to avoid that is look away. But yeah, so dead angling most of the attacks. The only attacks you can't dead angle are the rockets. Everything else you can avoid by standing at one of the walls. Other than the rage, but you'll see that doesn't hit you there. Her rage lasers will still hit you here. So when they're triggered, you want to be dead angling it at the wall. And just hovering over. When you start to run out, you just charge up your jump and hop up again. You can actually charge up your pogo stick enough by just slowly walking away from the bars while crouched. The other dead angle spot is right in front of the face. Most of the attacks won't hit you from front of the face, and that's how you deal with it in melee. Right, so let's try not to die to this boss and move on to Iris Stage 2, because yes, spoilers, there are 2 stages to Iris. It looks like her lasers will hit you when you're hugging the walls, but honestly, they won't. Iris Stage 2. So on waking up, you have some free time to just DPS it, mark it up, and the only element that will affect it when it's lying on the floor is burn. You cannot build up shock or frost. It will always do 2 claw attacks when it wakes up. Those claw attacks, you can avoid them by walking backwards, sliding backwards, anything really. Then you have a laser, electric charge that she does there. She'll shine electric sparks and slam into the floor, doing electric on the floor. If you're on the floor when she does that, you will get shocked. Then you have lasers out the fingers. To avoid this, just walk up underneath her. They physically can't hit you. When her sides are shining like that, it's rocket barrage. Again, you just walk underneath her. She can't hit you. Just cannot hit you with any of these attacks if you're underneath her. This laser barrage is probably the hardest one to avoid. I tend to crouch until a bar is about to hit me, and then pogo stick as high as I can, then fit myself between a couple of more lasers, and then hero cape to the bottom. Tends to be a fairly effective way to avoid it. We've only got one more attack that we're kind of waiting for. Here we go. Spinning disco ball. When she does this, again, I tend to just pogo stick up, and then you can just hover above her throughout the whole duration of this, and it won't ever hit you. If you don't have some of these gadgets, it can be a lot harder to deal with. It is still very possible to avoid them without them. It just gets a little bit harder, but honestly, if you're playing on G4, then you should be absolutely fine. I believe that was all the attacks that I covered, so peace.